Hello again, everybody. Lance Smith here, and welcome to episode 239 of the Bible Difficulties and Answers podcast. Let me hit you with something right out of the gate. Have you ever looked at a situation that was actually good, but fear twisted it into something terrible? Have you ever seen someone take a real challenge and inflate it so much that it paralyzed everybody around them? Or let's make it personal. Have you ever talked yourself out of something God was clearly leading you toward because all you could see were the obstacles? If that hits even a little bit close to home, stay with me. Because today we're stepping into one of those classic, hold on, what? Moments in Scripture. Numbers 13:32 to 33. How do 10 spies walk into the same land as Joshua and Caleb, see the same fruit, the same terrain, the same promise from God, and come back saying, yeah, that place, it devours people? I mean, that sounds less like the promised land and more like something out of a survival horror movie. So, what's really going on here? Let's dig in. We'll start with the problem as laid out in the Big Book of Bible Difficulties by Geisler and Howe. On one hand, the 10 spies say the land devours its inhabitants. On the other hand, Joshua and Caleb are basically saying, this place is incredible. Let's go take it now. Same land, same scouting trip, completely different conclusions. So the short answer here? No. The longer answer? This is a textbook case of facts versus interpretation. Geisler and Howe make the point, and I think they nail it, that all 12 spies agreed on the facts. The land was fertile, productive, desirable. That wasn't up for debate. The issue wasn't the land itself. The issue was what they believed about the land. Because that same fertility, that same abundance, made the land extremely valuable. And when something is that valuable, people fight over it. So, what the 10 spies were seeing was a region marked by conflict, warfare, and competition. But instead of saying this land is worth fighting for, they said this land will destroy us. Same data, but a radically different worldview. Now, let's bring in the New Living Translation because it really lets you feel the tension. After 40 days of scouting, the spies return carrying a cluster of grapes so massive it takes 2 men to haul it on a pole. That's not a snack, that's a billboard advertising God's goodness. Their initial report in verse 27 is glowing. It is indeed a bountiful country, a land flowing with milk and honey. And Caleb jumps in immediately, zero hesitation. Let's go at once. We can certainly conquer it. I love that. No committee, no 5-year plan. And has one single solitary 5-year plan ever actually worked? It was just faith in action. But then, here come the 10. And they shut it down fast. We can't go up against them. They are stronger than we are. And then comes the line. The land will devour anyone who goes to live there. And just in case that wasn't enough, they add, we even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. Next to them, we felt like grasshoppers. And that's what they thought too. Let me translate that into modern language. We brought back proof the land is amazing, but trust us, it's a death trap. And also, we're tiny, they're huge, and this is a terrible idea. One minute it's, look at these grapes. The next minute it's, we're all going to die. Emotional whiplash at its finest. So what does it mean? The land devours its inhabitants. It's not literal. Canaan wasn't out there chewing on people like some kind of ancient Pac-Man. This is hyperbole, exaggeration driven by fear. It's part of what the Bible calls an evil report. Bob Utley points out in his Free Bible Commentary that this kind of language was used in the ancient world to describe regions where constant warfare made life short and dangerous. In other words, the land was so good people fought over it, and a lot of people died in those conflicts. The fertility created conflict, and the spies weaponized that reality. They didn't invent the obstacles. The cities were fortified, the warriors were strong, but they completely removed God from the equation. And once you do that, everything becomes impossible. It's like two people looking at the same glass of water. One says, "Look what God has already provided." The other says, "That's it, we're doomed." Same glass, same water, totally different faith. Now, let's talk about the giants, because the spies really lean into this. They name the descendants of Anak and even tie them to the Nephilim. And then they drop that unforgettable line, "We felt like grasshoppers." And that's what they thought too. First of all, how exactly do you know what the giants were thinking? Did you take a survey? Excuse me, big fella, quick question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do we look like insects to you? No, that's fear filling in the blanks with worst case assumptions. The Anakim were real people, tall, formidable warriors, especially around Hebron. They were intimidating, no question about it. But they were still just people, and God is still God. Caleb understood that. Years later, at 85 years old, he says, "Give me that mountain." And he personally drives the Anakim out of Hebron. That's not retirement energy, that's mountain-taking faith. Here's where the story turns tragic. The real problem wasn't that the land devoured people, it's that fear devoured faith. The people believed the 10 spies. They panicked, they rebelled, they even talked about going back to Egypt. Think about that. They're standing on the edge of promise, ready to run back to slavery. Why? Because 10 fearful voices were louder than 2 faithful ones. And God responds. That entire generation, except for Joshua and Caleb, wanders for 40 years and dies in the wilderness. Not because the land was bad, not because the giants were unbeatable, but because they refused to trust God. Later, in Ezekiel 36:13, God uses similar language about the land devouring people, but there it's tied to judgment and restoration. Again, the point is clear. The land isn't the problem. The heart is the problem. This wasn't really a geography report. It was a theology report. It revealed what they believed about God. So let me land this plane. You're going to face your own "the land that devours its inhabitants" moments, situations that look overwhelming, opportunities that feel too big, callings that stretch you beyond what feels safe. The facts might be intimidating: big obstacles, strong opposition, real risk. But here's the question that matters. Are you measuring the challenge against yourself or against God? The 10 spies said, "We're grasshoppers." Joshua and Caleb said, "The Lord is with us. They are no match for us." Same land, different conclusion. So what about you? Will fear write your report, or will faith? Because the land, then and now, is exactly what God says it is: good, fruitful, worth the fight. Don't let fear talk you out of what God is leading you into. If this episode helped you, or maybe challenged you a little, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out at BibleDifficultiesAndAnswers@gmail.com. Join the conversation on our Facebook page, and if you'd like to support the show, head over to buymeacoffee.com/Lance Smith. Next Friday, we've got another good one. Numbers 14:25. Did the Amalekites live in the mountains or the valley? That one should be fun. All episodes are archived at BibleDifficultiesAndAnswers.podbean.com. I'm Lance Smith, wishing you good health, good study, and God's richest blessings. And remember, walk by faith, not by sight. So long, everybody.